Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. 1 year into his papacy, Pope Leo XIV is no longer viewed as a cautious new pontiff finding his footing. He's increasingly emerging as one of the world's most outspoken moral voices on war, migration, and human dignity. Now, as tensions with President Trump deepen over Iran and immigration, leaders including Donald Tusk and Marco Rubio arrive in Rome for high-level talks. After the meeting, the Polish Prime Minister quoted a message from Pope Leo to the Polish people. Do not lower your heads, do not lose hope. On the contrary, build strength for good and unite around good causes. And joining us now to discuss it all further is Michał Kłosowski, journalist, author, and member of Catholic Voices. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me.
So before we look at this papacy 1 year in, just give us your take of that quote that apparently was said by the pontiff to Prime Minister Tusk, and also that kind of meeting. I mean, we hear a lot of warm words. The Prime Minister said it was beyond protocol, surprisingly informal. Tell us about how that went and what that means for relations between the Vatican and Poland.
Well, it's clear that the relations between Poland and the Vatican right now are on the very high level, not only because of the visit of Prime Minister Donald Tusk, but there were planned meetings of Polish bishops, then President Karol Nawrocki, and now Prime Minister Donald Tusk to Vatican. And meeting with Pope Leo is always something very important for every political, but not only political leader. And in fact, it has to be mentioned that it seems that Pope Leo likes Poland somehow, not only because he's quoting John Paul II many times, but also the density of those meetings. Also, the meeting with Prime Minister Donald Tusk is something different than with the others. Political leaders. We can see, smiling leaders. I mean, Pope Leo and Prime Minister Donald Tusk chatting. It seems that the meeting was really nice, which is something a bit different than what we saw during the meeting with, for example, Secretary Marco Rubio. So it all seems to me that there is kind of like a special link between Poland and the Vatican, which is not only a historical link, but also a very modern one.
Mm-hmm. So you said it's something different there. Now that might very well mean because of the personality of the Prime Minister and directly engaging with the Pope. So, I mean, looking on beyond the photos and what we've heard, what do you think that means practically in terms of, let's say, the Pope as an ally now of certain political leaders, or what does that translate into now tangibly, you think?
Well, that's my personal opinion. I think that what have changed recently is kind of like an environment, political environment in the world. Because when we do have Donald Trump as president of the United States, which is kindly surrounded by people who are trying to act in a very religious way. I mean, there are like putting President Donald Trump on a level of religious leader as well. Pope Leo is trying to do something different. He's trying to build connections with different political leaders, also Prime Minister Donald Tusk, who are showing and working for a little bit different way that the world can be shown and can be ruled, because Pope Leo is well known for his support for multilateralism as well in the world, which seems to be ruled by the kind of like a war between two main powers. So maybe that's the reason as well that Pope Leo is trying to build a different kind of diplomacy, not only talking with superpowers, I mean US and China, but also middle powers like the EU, countries in Africa, Poland, which is a regional leader as well. So I think that was the main reason of this very happy and very open dialogue between Pope Leo and Prime Minister Donald Tusk. I think that they both believe in multilateralism and in the way that the world can be governed not only by the conflict between superpowers, but by the dialogue with many, many different voices.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about voices as well. I mean, in terms of what kind of voice has this Pope been? We're now looking at 1 year into this papacy. I mean, someone very much unknown, I mean, if even to Catholics and maybe even beyond that. But how would you characterize this 1 year in now, Michael? Would you say that this is now a diplomat? Is he a reformer? What characterizes for you this first year of the papacy?
He's a true Pope. Okay. 1 year ago, when he showed himself on the balcony of the Basilica of St. Peter in the Vatican, I was there. I was in the crowd, and there were many people asking the same question: Who is he? Who is he? And no one knows. Okay, like it was a surprise for many back then in the Vatican, and now. We can see that after this year, he's a true Pope, which means he's a spiritual leader. He's very, very good on the diplomatic level, but he's also a pastor. He's also a leader for the global church, which means he's kind of like a father for 1.5 billion people around the globe. Okay, so. That's who he is right now, and I would say that it's also super important to understand that his background, because he was born in Chicago, but he spent almost 20 years in Peru in Chiclayo diocese, is super relevant for who he is right now as a pope, because somehow he's also a missionary in a very different, globalized, digitalized world, who chose for his first visit Africa, his first full 11 days visit abroad the Vatican, Africa. Of course, he was in Monaco, he was in Turkey and Lebanon, but those visits were kind of prepared before. It was kind of like a long voice from the past. But Africa was his first choice, okay? And it's super important to understand that he's also very well informed about how the world has changed recently.
All right. And also, just getting also your opinion, for looking at the relationship, you said it was quite warm between these two with the Prime Minister. But if we look at Catholics, particularly in Poland, how would you say, I mean, if we're looking at the church, you called him a true pope. And what about for most Catholics? What do they believe and think of this pontiff, given a very polarized world, also with politics involved? How do they view him? Is this someone that they see as someone who will lead the church? Or do they believe him? Will they follow what he says?
Well, thank you for that question, because it's super relevant. And just yesterday, there were a few articles published by the official Vatican media saying that for many Poles, and not only for Poles, Pope Leo is super similar to John Paul II. And it's super relevant as well because, today is a feast of Saint Stanislaw, who is the patron of Poland, and maybe that's the reason. But being honest, when I'm talking with my friends and many journalists in Poland who are trying to cover the church and the Vatican, he seems to be much closer than Pope Francis was, okay? Maybe because of the cultural differences or similarities, because, American Pope from Chicago, where there's a huge Polish diaspora, he's one of us, okay? And that's the issue in here. But still, he is much more similar to Pope John Paul II on many levels, of the level of language, on the level of education, He's a philosopher, mathematician, a university professor, even the level of, how he wear his clothes, okay, being more traditional than Pope Francis. And few months ago, there was a survey by run by one of the Polish universities, showing that still John Paul II, for 65% of Polish society, is the only person which is connecting them to the others. Okay, he is still the point of reference, and because of that, and because of the similarity between Pope Leo XIV, who really likes Poles, this new American Pope is very well seen, let's call it, okay, because he's someone similar with a new appearance.
All right. So as you said there, Pope Leo there as a true pope with very much also with relations and a voice that people are listening to. Thanks so much for all that and insight. That was Michał Kłosowski, journalist and author, Catholic Voices. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, but stay tuned right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.